Morning traders, it is May 6th and day number 31 of the 100x challenge. Two accounts here, 10 grand each between Tesla and Strategy, where the first to $1 million wins. I film just twice a week to document every play. No advice, just a journey. So follow along, tap subscribe, and let's get into the trades. So looking at the real-time status of everything, you can see that we had a pullback. In fact, this ledger is going to tell it a little bit more clearly. Negative 6% and negative 9%. Market is coming down. I was afraid that we were overextended, and here's how it plays out. Sometimes your intuition is correct, but not to worry. I'll get into the fact that this is a healthy pullback. You know, there is a little bit of fear coming with FOMC tomorrow and different market conditions, but overall, things look really, really good. But I am going to be cautious going into tomorrow's Jerome Powell conference, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to play that. But yeah, going back to the balances, Strategy still at 45%. We got our money in good. There's no denying that. And so we're up quite a bit here compared to Strategy at 31%. We're outperforming. Tesla's up 10% compared to about 9.5%, slightly outperforming there. And both portfolios doing very well. So looking at some charts real quick, here's kind of what I'm going to be expecting if we decide to retrace lower. And I drew out this blue box. We have a lot of trading volume in this area. But also this is about where the 50% retracement mark would be. You know, if we basically go from the local bottom to the local top, we're looking right into this space here. So, you know, if we're bearish for the rest of the week, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we came all the way down to around the 250 to 260 mark for Tesla. And then going over to Strategy here, kind of about the same thing, right? Take the bottom locally to the top here, and this is about the 50% mark. You also have a little gap right here that coincides as well. So between 320 to 340 wouldn't shock me. I just don't know the timing, and we don't know if this is going to happen. This is just me preparing for kind of the next possible retrace. You know, we could come down a little bit more and then just continue back up, or we just keep going up. Everything is on the table. I'm not a TA guy, so for me, it's just kind of using a little bit of common sense with a little bit of very basic TA. That's really all I go by, and that's all that's really necessary for most traders. Going into Tasty Trade, I'm very curious to see how my weekly rent is going here. I assumed that it would be in the red, and it is. So we're down about $200. Not too bad considering the fact that Tesla's come all the way from about 290 something down to 275. So we have to expect when you combine the values of each one of these calls that we're going to be slightly negative. The big question about this trade for this week is, do we let this continue, or do we close it out, or do we adjust? And I'm going to bring up option strat because this is super important. When I analyze a situation like this, I'm going to analyze the worst case scenario. And if I just move this, I'll kind of show you what the worst case scenario is. So where we're at is we purchased the 230 on June 20th, and we sold this Friday's 277.5. At the time, we were around 295. We've come all the way down, and you can see that if we continue and let this expire, then we're actually very good. We should technically make some money by simply letting this go till Friday. But that's a big if. That's if the price doesn't change at all. So we're right here now. So this is not, my cost basis is not correct, by the way. But so we're down. But if we let this go where the prices are, we're in big trouble if, let's say, we get a dump all the way down to those levels I talked about before, which would be, let's just call it 250. There's no way I'm going to keep this open and risk losing more than $1,000 because of an event that I'm well aware of. So I'm pretty neutral going into tomorrow. However, I need to play cautious as well. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is going to be to remove these. I'm going to go ahead and take my $200 loss on this position. We've been winning and winning and winning every single week on this weekly run, about 300 to 350 every single week. Taking an L here is fine. It's a very minimal loss. So that's going to be the first thing I do is close this. And the plan is to just go ahead and wait until Friday to go ahead and make a decision for next week. All right, so closing that out. Sometimes it's just better not to be in the market. And in this case, I can't really think of a great way to play this without risking too much in the meantime. And we will go ahead and switch over to strategy. And in this situation, we have a little bit to talk about because we took a debit spread, which had very minimal risk and a high upside if it plays out the way that we hope. What I'm about to show you is why we did this and why I'm not too surprised either that strategy is where it's at. I'm actually surprised strategy is holding up at 386 based on our pullback with Bitcoin. This isn't bad at all. I would expect us to be closer to 370. So I think it's holding up very well and showing a lot of strength. So that's a really good sign. We're only down $132 on this original position. So what we did is we ended up buying the 430 call and selling the 450. The reason why, if you remember from last Friday, is because implied volatility has been so low. In fact, a 1-year low for strategy. It made more sense to buy something that was really well underpriced and potentially use that to our advantage. So if I take you into option strat again, under two different scenarios, on Friday, I ended up selling the 10 shares that we had here instead. So at the time, we were simply long 10 shares. The reason why we sold the 10 shares is because if we had just kept those 10 shares, then we're risking all of this downside. And you know how fast strategy can move. It can go down into the low 300s with the right conditions. And if there's a better opportunity, we're going to take it. So in this case, there was, in my opinion, a much better opportunity. And with options, man, it really is a powerful tool. And this kind of proves exactly how. So you can see here that we took a trade, and this is actually has my cost basis already factored in. I went ahead and changed these numbers, but the most we can lose on this trade is 489. Even if the price goes down to 300, we only lose 489. On the top side though, as long as strategy can get to at least 450, we're up $1,500. Well, if we compare that to buying 10 shares at $400, I actually did have the cost basis here set up, right? So here's $400. That's where we sold these shares. So if we had kept the shares instead, you can see that first off, to make $1,500, I got to move the range. It would require a price of $550. So not only does it actually limit our upside, because we have to go so much further. But if we go down, there's no limit to our downside. We could lose the entire thing, or at least, most of that, if we just stumble all the way down below 300s. So there's no doubt that this trade is better in the conditions we're at right now. If I thought that we're just going to go sideways, then for a little while, then keeping the shares would be better. But I expect some pretty meaningful volatility both directions. And so this little spread, it seems innocent. 430 to 450 is quite powerful. It could provide this much upside. So, and it's only roughly 4 weeks from now. Hopefully we capture this. If not, no problem. I have no problem investing 489 to potentially gain 1,500. So I love that trade still for us. We're going to continue to let this run. I may sniff out something like this for Tesla next week. If we go down for Tesla, if let's say we go down to the 250s, then it would make sense to either open something like this as well for Tesla, as its IV also has been going down slowly. But we're going to make that decision on Friday. So everything else is good to go. There's no purpose in messing with the great put, great spread on either one of these accounts. So we're just going to let those be as is. This will be the thumb for today. $2,000 total, $21.74 compared to Friday. So things can move fast, but overall, I'm enjoying life right now. I am preparing for more red this week, but hopefully we get a nice surprise to the upside. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this particular video, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday with some new positions. Have a good one.